If you're just joining us, I'm Tim Barkley with Charleston Home Design magazine, and today's radio show is coming to you from Energy One America, one of the sponsors of the Custom Home and Remodel Show and Hurricane Expo coming up August 8th through the 10th at the Citadel's Johnson Haygood Stadium. And now we're talking with Jessica Perez with New Leaf Tree Service. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. Jessica, take a moment and tell everybody about New Leaf Tree Service.
Okay. Well, New Leaf Tree Service is a full-service tree care company. We're based out of Mount Pleasant, but we work all over the Charleston area, from Somerville to Johns Island to Isle of Palms. And we do tree removals, we do tree trimming, stump grinding, fertilization, and also diagnosis and treatment for tree problems.
Gotcha. How do you know that you have an unhealthy tree in your yard?
That's a great question. Well, there are several signs, most of which are pretty overt, like dieback within the crown of the tree when the leaves start dying and falling off for no apparent reason. Those are the types of signs that homeowners usually notice. Large cavities in the trees, a homeowner might notice something like that as well.
If you have a tree that has a large cavity, is it a goner? Is it just
No, not necessarily. That's when you want to call a certified arborist such as myself. I am certified by the International Society of Arboriculture. And I'm also tree risk assessment qualified by the International Society of Arboriculture. So I do have an extra credential behind my name that allows me to specifically look at things like cavities, and determine whether or not that cavity is, a mortal, or if it's something that will heal over, and if the tree has life left in it. So, cavities are sometimes, a sign of imminent failure, but in a lot of cases, particularly around here where we have a lot of live oak trees, they can have massive cavities. And be just fine. There's like a little shell of wood that holds the tree up for many, many years. So,
I heard a year or two ago there was a pest control company that had gotten called into the Citadel because trees on the campus actually had termites. Have you ever seen that kind of thing where a live tree has termites?
Occasionally, yes. Termites typically feed on dead wood. That's why we need to protect our homes and things like that, because homes are built out of dead wood, of course. But occasionally they do invade live tissue. In fact, this past month we took down a tree that part of it had failed. A big leader had fallen, and the homeowner called us to clean that up. And when we went to cut the wound flush, there were just millions of termites. Wow. Probably thousands. It looked like millions of termites coming out of the holes, and we did have to take the rest of the tree down. So they do feed on live wood occasionally.
Have you can you think of any examples where New Leaf Tree Service sort of came in and saved the day, that the homeowner calls you and about a tree, and the tree could have fallen on the house the next day in a big windstorm or something?
Well, I don't know about the next day. It's kind of hard to pinpoint Mother Nature to exact time frames, but we did just this past week, unfortunately, have to take down a beautiful old, probably 200 to 300-year-old live oak. The homeowner had called me to prune another tree in the yard, a beautiful laurel oak. And, we gave the quote to do that, and we were going to take a few branches from over the house and thin out some of the canopy and take out some of the dead wood from this laurel oak. And I glanced over, up next to the house was this live oak with a massive cavity in it. And those always catch my eye. Being tree risk assessment qualified, I always like to investigate. And so I said, let's go look at your other tree. And sure enough, there was a big cavity that had wound wood, which is like the scar tissue, formed around it. And so it looked pretty stable at the base. Had a lot of what we call holding wood, holding the tree up. But when I looked, actually it was my husband that looked a little bit farther up the tree, and there was a big crack, a vertical crack had formed in the tree. And when you look just above that, maybe 30 feet up in the tree, it looked as though maybe the tree had been struck by lightning, or it could have been hugoed, as I say, many years ago, where a leader had come off of it and somewhat tried to heal over, but that hole in that tree 30 feet up was collecting water.
Oh, yeah.
And essentially what it had formed was a tube. From 30 feet up in the tree down to the ground was just a completely hollow tree with a little bit of bark covering the thinnest part, and that bark had actually cracked. Luckily, we saw that, and when we took the tree down, there was very, very little shell wood holding the rest of this tree up. So it was good that he got that down before hurricane season.
Could have been a disaster.
A heavy wind load on that tree would have certainly cracked it, and it would have fallen on his home the way that this tree sat.
I would guess that New Leaf Tree Service is called in most of the time when there is a problem, but there are probably some things that New Leaf Tree Service could offer homeowners to ensure that the trees on their property stay healthy.
Yes. Well, I always like to say an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of cure. So, especially right now, it's hurricane season, but we don't have anything on the radar yet. So now's the time to go ahead and get live limbs, anyway, at least 6 feet away from the sides of the house and from 10 feet over, or even more in certain cases. Any dead limbs should be removed completely from the tree because they become projectiles in a windstorm. And it's a good time to have things inspected. Take a look at cavities and holes in the trees. Make sure that you don't have weak branch unions. Some branches get so long and heavy, and they have all those leaves at the end. Sometimes a lot of Spanish moss will collect on the ends of branches and add even more of a wind load. So it's a good time to get rid of overextended branches and weak branch unions.
Good
Crossing
deal.
and crowding branches as well.
There are other tree services in Charleston. What would you say sets New Leaf Tree Service apart from the competition?
Well, that's easy. Me. I'm a girl. I'm the tree girl. There are very few women in this
business. That's your
business.
nickname, right?
Yeah.
I've seen your ad in Charleston Home Design magazine, and Tree Girl. That's your nickname.
That's me. Yeah. I like to think that being a woman, I have a different perspective. I am meticulous. Some people call me OCD, but I don't miss anything. I mean, if there's a little piece of deadwood up in the tree, I'm going to get it. And that's just the way I operate. So I like my job sites nice and clean when we leave. I'm very fastidious. I like to make sure that it looks better once we've been there than before we got there. So we do a lot of landscaping after the fact too. We rake and we blow really thoroughly.
Nice. It's sort of, I think contractors sort of get a pass when it comes to certain things like you were mentioning, cleaning up the job site, which is awesome that New Leaf Tree Service does that. Oftentimes it's not a complete surprise when contractors don't show up on time. What's the New Leaf Tree Service policy on that?
Well, I always show up on time. I like to meet with each and every customer for my estimates. I think it's very important to get a clear picture of what the homeowner wants. I'm very good at communicating with them from the first meeting, deciding the scope of work that needs to be accomplished to being on every job site, once it begins, even though I have a crew that does the work. Of course, I'm not getting up in the trees and doing the cutting, but I do stand on the ground with my little laser pointer and make sure that they get the branches that the homeowner wants gone, or the branches that I've indicated that need to be removed. So I'm there all the time, making sure things are done my way.
Good deal. Well, for listeners who may not have ever hired a tree company like New Leaf Tree Service, can you give people a ballpark idea? What does it cost?
Oh gosh, that's a big ballpark for tree work because we've done jobs for as little, we can grind a stump for $150 or something like that, all the way up to big jobs where we're trimming multiple trees or removing multiple trees, well up into the thousands. It just depends on the scope of your work.
Gotcha. And it's free to call New Leaf Tree Service to come out for an estimate?
Yep, we give free estimates. And my estimate includes also my expertise as a certified arborist, as well as that tree risk assessment qualification that I have. So my free estimate is a very good value.
What do you say to, somebody who, I got a guy come over and put up a ladder, that kind of thing. What are the risks to a homeowner hiring a guy to a trunk slammer, somebody who's just kind of working out of their trailer or something?
Several risks. First and foremost, to the homeowner themselves, these people tend to be unlicensed and uninsured or underinsured. Every contractor, no matter what trade they're in, should have general liability insurance, and we carry liability insurance up to $1 million. That means if anything's damaged on your property, it's covered. Number two is workman's compensation. The workers that are doing the work on your property need to be covered, because if an accident happens, God forbid, on your property, the homeowner could actually be sued if they didn't take precautions to make sure that their contractors had workman's comp coverage while they're on the property. So that's one. And number two is the trees themselves. If you've got some Joe Schmo that doesn't know what they're doing and they butcher your tree, you can't stick the limbs back on once they've cut them off. It's not like a bad haircut. It doesn't grow back.
Right.
So unlike bushes where, in shrubbery, you can give them a bad haircut and it will grow back. Trees, it doesn't. Once that leader is gone, it's gone for good. You can't fix it. So, and they can actually kill the trees too. Taking too much off at one time, performing bad cuts can lead to decay and disease entering the tree. And then
Possible
the trees are
to
goner.
do more harm than good then.
Very much so.
Well, tell everyone how they can get in touch with New Leaf Tree Service.
Okay. Well, they can check out our website at newleaftreeservice.com or call us at 843-260-6550 or email me at treegirl@newleaftreeservice.com.
Tree Girl, I love it. That's great. Well, we've been talking with Jessica Perez with New Leaf Tree Service. Thanks so much, Jessica.
Thank you.